Well, here it comes, the cable car episode. I'd like to say thank you very much to Danny Giles out at the Southern California Railway Museum for your input, your insight, and your information about the cable car. I'd also like to say come out to the Southern California Railway Museum. Let's get this one rolling.
Welcome to Knott's Fairy Tale.
Welcome to Brian's Berry Tales. I'm Brian M. Watts. I'm your host. We're standing inside of Barn 1 at the Southern California Railway Museum, and yes, behind me is the original Knott's Berry Farm cable car. In case you are unaware, Knott's had a parking lot trolley system. It consisted of 6 modified cable cars that traveled the parking lot on actual steel tracks. Guests could ride the cable car from their parking spot to the front gate and back for only 25 cents. The 6 Knott's Berry Farm cable cars came from San Francisco, where 2 kinds of cable cars exist. The Powell Street line that only has single-ended cars. These cars require a turntable at each end to spin them around for their return trip. The Powell Street cable cars are not the same as the Knott's Berry Farm cable cars. If you find yourself in San Francisco and you want to ride a cable car similar to the one that was at Knott's Berry Farm, you are looking for the California Street line. It runs along California Street from Drum Street to Van Nuys Avenue. These double-ended cars are the same style as the farm trams. They are double-ended to avoid the costly turntables like the Powell Street cable. These cars can simply drop the cable and pick it back up with the grip on the other side. That grip would be removed before the cars would run at the farm. They were also heavily modified. Batteries were added, power controls were installed, and emergency air brakes were constructed for safety. The Knott's cable car has no compressor to refill the emergency tanks after they were used, so a trip to the car house was in order to fill them. As far as I know, there was no incident involving a cable car in its 33-year run at the farm. When the cable car first started operating at Knott's, it had 2 routes. One to Henry's Livery, where kids could operate antique cars that didn't have a track. And the other was the parking lot route. The cable car route would change in 1968 when Walter Knott decided to put a fence around the farm to keep the vagrants out. In order to keep the farm safe, they would need to start charging 25 cents for admission. This would leave Henry's Livery outside the new perimeter, and in maps printed after this time, we no longer see the second cable car route to Henry's Livery. The tracks ran from the Cable Car Cafe north along the border of what is now Camp Snoopy. It entered Fiesta Village around where the balloon race sits today. From there, it would run up to the Calico Railway and follow the property line along La Palma and down beach until it returned to the cafe for another trip. Unfortunately, the cable car ceased parking lot operations in 1982 for the construction of Camp Snoopy. It's assumed Walter or the Knott children had planned on running them in the park again. You see, the cable car here at the Southern California Railway Museum wasn't donated until 1985, some 3 years after operations ceased. The city of San Diego had plans on running a Knott's Berry Farm cable car in the gas lamp, and they wouldn't receive that cable car until 1988, 6 years after operations ended at the farm. Unfortunately, whatever the plan to bring the cable cars back to Knott's Berry Farm was, it didn't come to fruition, and only one of Walter's battery-operated cable cars still runs to this day. The San Diego car was saved by the city of Poway and now operates on select weekends as a part of the Poway Midland Railway, some 95 miles south of the farm. 4 were sent back to California Street to be used for parts or restoration. They are now 402 miles north of the farm, and it's unknown if any of them are in operation today. The 6th is here at the Southern California Railway Museum, some 56 miles east of the farm. It sits on the same rails as the Reflection Lake popcorn and pretzel cart that once was where Silver Bullet's exit is today. As this is an operating railway museum, the car has been restored to its as-delivered paint scheme, so don't expect to see any of that Ed Roth freestyle handing on there, or see that it says popcorn or soda, or even smell that stuff. It's been restored to the way that it operated on the streets before Mr. Knott or the Knott family ever possessed it. This cable car is not under any restoration, but can be with your help. Donating to the Southern California Railway Museum is a step in the right direction, but physically volunteering and becoming an active member are what makes it possible for the museum to restore historical items like this one. You see, the Knott's Berry Farm cable car, the popcorn cart, and the little pop cart that used to sit in front of the train shop are all here for you to come and see and enjoy. Not only has the popcorn cart been fully restored to its as-delivered paint scheme, but the pop cart is being worked on by Ken Schwartz in the Grizzly Flats Railroad that was donated by Disney animator Ward Kimball. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you at the farm. Or maybe at the Southern California Railway Museum, if I'm lucky. If you got a suggestion for an upcoming video that I could work on about any attraction that was at Knott's or anything related to the Knott family or the boysenberry in general, I'd be honored to read it, and maybe I'll sit down and do a lot of research and write a short script like this, but here's what we all came for, me not being able to read the script. When the cable car first started operating the cable car route the city of San Diego had plans on running a